Hey there, I'm BogdanBudaca and welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me for another mind workout. Today I want to talk about Docker for a bit and more specifically Docker Compose and what it can do for us. If you're not familiar with Docker, it's basically a virtualization tool that's container based. It's pretty popular, so you'll find a bunch of documentation online. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's very useful. I usually use it for sourcing things and running them quickly, like a database or a pack broker or anything that I can get the Docker image for and run it in a container. I'm Small disclaimer as well. The idea of this video is based on a comment from user Seti, and I hope I have the name right. So thank you for that. Our goal today would be to use Docker and compose together two services in a database. So it's based on this is based on a previous video for running a full stack application, and I'll link to the video as well, of course. It's something very small, just an Angular UI and the Java and Spring Boot backend. And back at that time, I was trying to use Cassandra DB. So it's something very simple, just saving and retrieving cars from the database. So yeah, Docker is pretty easy and super fun. So I think we'll have a good time. So let's dig right in. So I have some diagrams here to get us started. I'll close this. So these are basically the applications that I mentioned. This is just the back end, and this is the front end. Super small, super simple. And to get us started with the diagrams, basically, as I said, our goal for today is to compose the UI, the backend, and the database together in one Docker Compose file. So our first case here, we need Docker Engine installed, and we interact with the Docker Engine via the CLI. So we'll see a bit of CLI today, and basically we can use something called a Docker file that is just a text file that has some instructions on how to build our application into into a Docker image. So we get our application code, we get that Docker file, and we put them together. And when we build it, Docker actually spins up a container. So for example, for the Java application, we'd need Gradle. It's Gradle based, so we need Gradle to build it. So it's basically probably some runtime based on Alpine Linux or something very small like that. Gradle, and it gets our application code, it gets the dependencies it needs and everything. It builds it. We get the jar, and basically that jar is packed into the Docker image. So once we have the Docker image, you can pass it around. This is what solves the problem of running on some machines and not on others. You can pass it around and you can run it in a container. And when I mean run it in a container, you could just use a command to spin up your container, or you could use Docker Compose, and that's how we get to the second scenario here. So you can use that Docker image and use a Docker Compose YML file, which again is a text file with instructions on how to run your image, and basically that will spin up the container with your image. And the next case here is where we actually see the strength of Docker Compose. For example, you have multiple services, or imagine having very many services, so a whole lot of services, and you want to orchestrate them somehow, compose them somehow. So that's where the power of the Docker Compose file comes in. You can just describe there how you want them all to run. So let's look at some actual Docker material. So I'm in the backend application right now, and we'll start from the database. So I have a folder here. So here we have a shell script and we have the Docker Compose file. I think you can use the Docker Docker file actually to build it, but I'm just using Docker Compose here because it's the topic of our video today. So the thing is and I'll just print it out. So okay, so with Postgres, it's fairly simple, for example, because you can just so what the script here is trying to solve is initializing the database. So for example, you want your database to be brought up with a table or anything else you need. So with Postgres, it's pretty simple because you can just copy your .sh or .sql script to a certain location in the container, and that script gets run when the database is brought up. It's a bit trickier with Cassandra. That doesn't happen automatically. So basically, I found a small hack online. Of course, I'll link to the resources as well. So basically, what we do is we have our script here, and we just pass it here. So in the volumes. And one thing, for example, if you want persistence with the container, you would need volumes. Not going into that, but that just to mention it. So yeah, here we pass our shell script, and here we actually use it. So just to go over the different lines here, so we grab the Cassandra image from the Docker harbor. This is the container name. For the volumes here, we just copy our script, and this is how we map the ports. So the container port to our host machine port, we just use the same 9042. And the command here just to run our shell script. I'll just print that out as well. So our shell script is very basic. So it's just a loop here. Well, here we have the SQL commands, the SQL queries. So we just create a cars table. You can see this in the previous video. And here, so basically we pipe that to CQLSH. So that's the Cassandra CLI. So we pipe that in there, and we do that until it's successful. Otherwise, we just print this out and we sleep for 2 seconds. Okay, that's basically it. And I think we're ready to go. What I'll do, I'll just print out the containers here. So this is what I have right now. So the command. So if you would just use the Docker, if you would just use the Docker file, you would just do like Docker build, and you would build your application into an image. For Docker compose, the command is actually Docker compose up. So we start from smaller pieces. So we'll just do each part of the application at a time. So if I do this, basically it will get the Cassandra image and it will run everything as we described. It will copy the script there, it will run it. So if we look at the containers now, you can see there's a new one. So it's the first one there, Cassandra. So up for 6 seconds. So that's our container starting. Go back here, file it. So here everything started. If I go a bit up, oh no, I'll actually run it one more time. What I want to okay, so this is the print from our script. Yeah, so it's just trying to initialize it right now until it's so it won't be successful until it's brought up. So now that it's up, it's actually initialized it. So yeah, it's all good. So we have our container here. What we can do is we can actually spawn a session to it. So the name of the container and bash. So this is our key space here, cars. Cars. Oh yeah, here we go. So car. Yeah, this is our empty table. So we got this just by having the Docker compose file and running the command. So I will exit, and what I'll do, I'll just stop this container because we might conflict with it later. So just stopping it and then removing it. Okay, so I do have the Cassandra image right here. Actually, I have it from for some time now, so it's here. It didn't actually need to download it again. It just started the container, so that's all good. So now let's go one level up. So now we're in our full stack backend application. So actually, no, you know what? I'm actually going to run it. I'll just write it there to run because we actually need it for our backend application. So what we'll do, so here we have the Docker file. So I'll just print it out. Here we'll actually use the Docker file. So it's split up into two sections, build and run. So what it does here, so it gets the image here for Gradle. So you have the JDK, you have Gradle, you have everything you need to actually build your image. So this will actually build the image, run Gradle build. You just copy here the content to home Gradle src, the work directory and everything. So this is the command here, Gradle build. And this will be the first image, and then we have a second image here that we will actually use for our container. So here we need again a JDK environment. It's an Alpine JDK environment probably. We just expose the port here, make a directory. We copy from the build stage, which is this one. So we copy the jar into this location in our container, and this will be the entry point. Okay. So basically, there's a bit of tinkering. You just need to search a bit online and just get it, find either the documentation, either other resources. And for example, you see the different versions of OpenJDK images, Node images for Angular, Nginx. I use this just for the web server. So it does take a bit of tinkering until you get it working, but then it's super smooth. So basically, this is just this is what this does. And if you look at Docker Compose, this is the version of the file, the service, cars app, the build. So just build it from the current folder where we have the Docker file. So the container name, again mapping the ports, and this just means that we're using the host network. I'm doing this because we want all the containers to be on the same network. So for example, the UI network, the UI container to see the backend container and so on. So I'll just run Docker Compose for this as well. I hope this is pretty clear. It's super straightforward. Actually, once you're done with the tinkering and just setting everything up, it's super smooth. Sometimes you just need to wait for the build and everything to happen. So that's just the single downside, I'd say. So this is now building. So again, you can see here up 20 seconds. So this is actually the container that's building our image. So once that's done, you actually see the image as well. We'll have that in the Docker images. So this will build the image, and then it will start the container with that image. That's what Docker Compose will do. So basically it has the two steps: build the image and run it in a container, all rolled up into one. So I'll go to the front end one. Okie doke, same thing here. Actually, you know what, I'll just run it so we don't have to wait. Here, I hope this is still pretty visible. So here we'll just have a look at the Docker file. So the same thing, only this time we need a node environment. So we're getting a node Alpine image. Then we have the work directory. We copy the package JSON with all the dependencies. We run npm install, and then we copy the code, and then we build it. So pretty straightforward. Again, for running the container, we will use Nginx for the web server. So we just have a very basic configuration file here. We copy it in this location, and then we get the output from the build stage, and we copy it to this location, and we expose the port 80. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll actually print out the nginx conf. So this is very straightforward as well. The port, and this is basically what we will serve, the index HTML. So yeah, that's it. Basically now you can have a look at the Docker compose file. Yeah, so the same thing. This time it's called cars UI, same as the container. We map the ports for 1200 to 80, and we use the same network host. So they'd all be on the same network. Okay, so the backend application is up. I can hopefully try it. Okay, so probably I'll actually fire up Postman. Yep, so our UI is building. We have the database, we have the backend application up. So Postman is up as well. Yep, so I try to get the cars, there's nothing there. We make a post. Oh, sorry, the body. So for example, Ford Mustang, we send this on, we get the ID back, and now we get the car. Okay, so yeah, the backend application is up, the database is up. So this just by running Docker compose and the Docker files. So we still need a bit more time for our UI as well. Okay, so the UI is done as well. It actually took the longest, and yeah, let's give it a test. Oh, wait. Oh yeah. So you can already see our car here, and the UI is working. Let's just try to add another Tesla test. Oh yeah, we actually said it a couple of times. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's working fine. So what I'll do now, I'll just stop all these. Okay. So we're back here. Now we will go 2 levels up. And here we have like the master Docker compose file. So again, the same thing, the version, the services. So we have all 3 here. Cassandra, the cars app, and the cars UI. Basically, it's the same code. The image for Cassandra, the container. So this is so I copy the initialization script to I just copy it in the container, and then the port mapping and just the command to run the script. So then the cars app, there's actually one small trick here. So I had to use so there's a small trick to, for example, how it like the order of your containers to be. So if the app container runs faster than the database container, it actually won't be able to connect to it. So I just have it restart here with this line. Other than that, it's and also depends on, because yeah, it connects to the Cassandra database. So cars UI, nothing changed. So it's pretty much the same, only a few minor changes. But this is like the master Docker compose YML file. So instead of just going through through each of the services individually, like we just did, just to have a demo on it, now we can just use this file. Actually, I think I need to clean up a bit, because we might get some conflicts for the names. So I'll just remove these, start fresh. Oh, that's not the name, is it? Oh, it's cars app, sorry. Okay. So cars app, cars UI. Okay, so now it's all fresh. Okay, and now we can just run the master Docker Compose file and have everything happen without doing anything else. Okay, so that's basically how this works. So we'll see afterwards if everything still works as expected. This just needs to run. And yep, so now all done. It does take a little while, but let's see if it works. Nope. Okay, so no cars yet. Refresh. Oh yeah, there we go. Ford Mustang. Refresh. Oh yeah. So yeah, everything is now up and running just from one file and one command. So both of our applications and our database are running together, composed together. So yeah, that's pretty much what I had. I really think Docker is great. I've also seen some buzz online about a new tool called Podman, but I'm not really familiar with it, just putting it out there. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'm looking forward to your comments in the comment section below. I hope this was as fun for you as it was for me, and if you liked the video, give it a like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you around.